Hello, Ashley here, back with episode 54 of the Maverick Mompreneur podcast. I am super glad that you're here and listening with me today. I hope you've been well. I've been well, minus allergies, so you'll be hearing a little bit of my nasaliness. I hope that's not too much of a deal breaker for you because this is going to be a really good episode. It will be a quickie about creating structure around your coaching or consultation sessions so that you can deliver your services, your mentorship, your consultation to your one-on-one clients with ease, confidence, and flow. This episode came as an offshoot of our episode last week, which was based on a listener question regarding how to know when you're ready to begin to offer one-on-one consultation, mentorship, or coaching services within your brand and business. So if you haven't listened to that episode and this is of interest to you within your brand and business, go back to that one and then listen to this one. Another listener, after listening to episode 53, had asked, I'm thinking of coaching or consultation, but how do you establish the flow? The first meeting we talk about this, the second meeting we talk about this, the third, etc. I know I have gifts to share, but how do you find the flow or process to take your clients on? And so I am going to give you some tips and hints and tell you what I do as far as process, and I hope this is massively helpful.
Hey mama, I'm Ashley and this is the Maverick Mompreneur podcast where you're free and encouraged to own your desire to create and scale an impactful, discoverable online brand and business in the midst of motherhood. A business that's aligned with your mission, lifestyle desires, personality, and zone of genius without wasting your time on the hustle and grind hamster wheel that is social media. Can I get an amen? Sis, you are a maverick, an original, willing to stand out in your authenticity, defy expectations, and do life and business outside the box. In our world, if it's not aligned with who we are, it's a hard pass or a brave pivot. So if you're here for the powerful identity shift and transformation from boss babe or boss mom to aligned CEO, building a one-of-a-kind, influential, hustle-free online business that will produce long-term impact and multiple streams of income through SEO, affiliate marketing, and courses while building yourself in the process, well, pop in those AirPods, grab that cup of coffee or glass of wine, and let's get growing.
All right, let's get right into it. I feel like this episode is going to be broken up into two different sections. One, creating a flow and a process for your actual sessions, so the micro level. And then the macro level being the flow and process for a longer term mentorship within a container. So for example, I work with clients for 3, 6, and 12-month increments. I love to work with clients for 3 months at minimum because that's where we can really start to create transformation in their business. You can get a lot done in a single session, but you have to be really on target and specific with what it is you're going to work on specifically and what the outcome of that one session is. So let's talk about session flow and process. I'm going to tell you what I do with my one-on-one clients in each session. So this is the overview, not necessarily the content of what are in the sessions, but this is an example. So starting out with checking in personally. Some coaches like to do breath work, something to bring the both of you to center, to let go of whatever it is that's been going on at work or with family or whatever it is, and really center on the work that you're going to be doing within your session. So your opener, if you will. The second thing that I do is follow up on any assignments or to-dos that have come up from the previous session. So for example, if a mindset block has come up and we've started talking about it, and then I realize, I really want my client, I really want this person to watch this session number 2 on upper limiting from one of my courses or something. Maybe I'll assign that. Or they were going to work on a particular piece of their business, like a freebie opt-in to start building their email list. So we check in on those to-dos to see how things are going, Is it done? Is progress made? Are there any questions? And so we're sort of reviewing our previous session and again, bringing us back into, okay, this is what we're working on here and now. And I try my very best to have a notes outline with what it is that we're going to be discussing in that particular session outlined. So all of these components outlined and that my client can review beforehand and then let me know if there's anything that they're needing to discuss that's outside the scope of kind of what I have outlined so that they're getting what they need from each session and it's not just what I think that they need next. Because a lot of times you really have to leave room for flexibility for things that come up because as humans, regardless of what it is you're mentoring or coaching in, there's going to be times where you need to just throw everything out the window that you are going to work on in that particular session. And as their coach, as their mentor, fill in the gaps that you're seeing, address issues that have come up, maybe just plain old talk, whatever it is that they need from that session. You really want to leave room for that, as much structure as you do put into your sessions so that you can guide someone towards that transformation that they really want, and which is why they are wanting to work with you, to be guided and mentored and held accountable towards a transformation that they really desire in some area of their life or business. So checking in personally, a centering activity, following up on assignments or to-dos from the previous session, and then addressing the next steps in your client's journey. And this is going to take some trial and error. I remember when I first would see one-on-one clients for sessions, I would have these long lists of things that we were going to work on and we'd only get to one thing. So you'll have to play around with, and this is just a part of the process, play around with what you can fit into a session. And that's also going to depend on your individual clients, their background, their understanding of the subject matter that you are working on, the amount of help that they need, the amount of support that they need, the amount of questions. But you want to have 1 to 3 next steps or things that you're talking about. I honestly recommend 1, especially if you have what we're going to talk about next, which is the longer term vision and framework, to really only be prepared to speak on and dialogue through and work on 1 next step. Because in order to help someone get a result, it needs to be manageable and not feel like they're drinking through a fire hose. And again, I'm saying this because I've learned a lot over the years of coaching and mentoring and made a lot of mistakes along the way and have seen what has helped clients to move forward and what has not. So I'm giving you advice based on that. And then after you've gone through that next step in the client's journey, talking about assignments or to-dos between the end of that session and then the start of your next one. So checking in, making sure you have calendared your next meeting. So always setting that next appointment, and then making sure that if you have a task as their coach or mentor, that you're reviewing what it is that you're going to be doing on their end, your availability to them and reminding them. So say you have part of your one-on-one consultation offer is Voxer and or text coaching continuous Monday through Friday. That's one thing that I love to have in my one-on-one offers. So reminding them to check in with you. So giving them that reminder and the accessibility to you that they have invested in. And then talking about assignments or things that they need to do to continue moving them forward. So whether that's a journal prompt, whether that is watching a YouTube video that you feel like would be really helpful to them, whatever it might be. Often for me, because at this stage in my business, I have self-paced courses around all of the areas that I work with my clients on. And so often we'll start talking about something, but a particular module or full course or whatever it may be can give the client a deeper dive into that subject. And there's, journals or worksheets or whatever it may be. And so I'll assign an extension of our session by watching a module or a video or whatever it may be. And then again, rinse and repeat at the next session, you would check in on, okay, what were your takeaways from that video? What were your takeaways from that journal? Any questions and so on and so forth. So that would be an example of the micro level session flow. And again, there are so many different ways to run your sessions. Some people are very fly by the seat of their pants, like, hey, tell me what's going on. Other people are super structured. I do think it's important to set the tone for your client just so they know and have expectation of what your sessions are typically going to look like. So even if you don't have a structure, mentioning that you don't necessarily have a structure, but but being open to at least those components, ensuring that they have an opportunity to add to what it is that you want to guide them through if they have particular questions, and just making sure that you're tying each session together and there's a continuous stream, and so that both you and the client can keep track of where they are at in the process, so that you can again fill in the gaps, figure out what, there may be something that you completely overlooked. But let's talk about how to start things out on the right foot from your very first session, whether it's your only session with this client or it's a longer term mentorship and consulting package. So in thinking about establishing a flow for your sessions, and even if it's just for, say, an intensive session, one of the most useful and I think necessary things to help you do this is to have an intake process. I sent out a pre-work questionnaire that for that particular package or intensive really assesses the specific needs of that client. So before they even meet with me, they need to complete that pre-work so that I can then tailor the session to where they are at on their journey. But prior to any of this, what you want to do is think about the results that you are offering in your consultation services for the particular offer that you're creating, and the steps that your client would need to walk through in order to achieve that result. And so I literally will put this down on a piece of paper. Here is the starting point for my ideal client for that offer. This is where they would be ideally coming in at. And then from that point, what do they need to know that they don't know, or what do they need to be reminded of or given a new perspective on from step one all the way towards achieving the goal that you are saying that from your services, from your consultation, someone can achieve themselves. So what are all the prerequisites that they need, and have that outline. If you don't have a formal framework such as a packaged course, start out with having an outline of the process. So for example, if I have someone that I'm working with for 3 months and they are wanting to work on adding systems and offers into their business, it's going to be very different what goes on in my first session if this is someone who is brand new and has never monetized, is not clear on their brand content pillars, doesn't have their messaging down, their mission, all of the kind of basic brand components. That's going to look a lot different than someone who has offers but is wanting to systematize those offers, is wanting to grow their email list, is wanting to start marketing to their email list effectively, all of those things. That first session is going to look really different, but I can assess where they're at by asking specific questions on my pre-work questionnaire, and then I have time to review that and see where their entry point to my consultation would be, because not every single client that you work with is going to be on the exact same portion of their journey, if that makes sense. When you're getting started, so if you're just getting started and you're wanting to offer one-on-one consultation, take for example last week's episode. If there's something that your clients or your audience members are consistently asking you about and you would like to offer a formal way of addressing that so that you're not just giving away your expertise for free constantly, because although altruistic, that's not realistic to continue to do. That's not going to, sure, here and there, but if you have a desire to work with clients one-on-one and you do have something that you feel you can truly add value to their lives in whichever way, formalizing that and having a process, why not? Even if you're not transforming your business into becoming a coach, you still want to honor their investment with a thoughtful structure around how you are going to get them from point A to point B, so that you aren't sitting there the entire time on the Zoom session talking to them or talking at them for an hour and they're totally inundated and overwhelmed, right? And so some of this takes, like I said before, some trial and error of seeing how many sessions do you really need in a particular offer in order to help someone get a result, to get a win. Is one session enough? It may be if it's a very short-term objective, but if you offer a very large result and you're only saying, sure, we can work together for 4 weeks, bi-weekly, so 2 sessions, are you really going to realistically be able to help them get a result? Not that them getting a result is your responsibility, but would that allow you to do what you need to do from your end to guide them and give them everything that they need? Particularly if you don't have, say, like a self-paced course where you say, hey, okay, now to maximize our time with implementation and questions. I want you to watch this module and then apply it, or ask me questions in Messenger or whatever it is. And so that's the nice thing about over time packaging up some of your questions you get asked a lot that are more step by step and can be generalized. You can always have someone refer to that piece of content, that video, that course, that document, and then for your next session, they're really ready to ask you questions and you can guide them on how to apply it to their life, to their business, to whichever area it is that you are consulting them. When you're just starting out, one thing that I would recommend is offering smaller, shorter term packages or even intensives. So for example, for me, for Elevate intensives, that's what I offer, and there's 7 different options, but essentially they're all the same structure. So the micro, again, it's 90 minutes. The container is 90 minutes of one-on-one Zoom time with me. There's pre-work involved. There's then a specific amount of days of follow-up coaching Monday through Friday in Messenger or Voxer, client's preference. And then for each of them, there is a self-paced course attached to that where I'm able to, on their outside of the Zoom session time, teach them specific concepts so that we can maximize that application time. So for each one of those intensives, there's a real specific goal that they're working on. So your client or potential client knows from the outset what it is that they are going to be focused on and working on. And I think for both your clients and for you specifically starting out, that's a great way to kind of get your feet wet and start establishing some of these modules or sessions, if you will, that you can then apply to a longer term consultation package, but creating and launching offers that are more of a smaller digestible size so that you can establish these really meaty, juicy sessions that you're guiding someone through when you do have the opportunity to work with someone for a longer time. So if I could go back and do it all over, I would definitely have been offering intensives years ago with specific goals in mind. So I've always offered single sessions called brand use strategy sessions. So that's an example. You can do a 1-hour coaching call around a specific topic that you feel very confident on, taking someone through A to B or a very short goal and getting them a result in. So again, there are any number of ways to structure both your sessions and or your longer term mentorship containers and packages and the flow within both. But I think the important part is to have a clear idea of what works for you to start out with and what makes you feel really confident in going into this process and gives you an outline and a framework that can help you to guide your client. And then it also helps your client to understand where they are at in the process, what is required of them, and helps everyone feel that things are moving along. And just making sure to check in with your clients all along the way, because that is how you are going to become excellent at what you do, is by asking questions. What's working for them? What do they need more of? And refining your process. But I hope that that helps you as you're getting started in establishing a flow with creating that overview, that overarching framework or outline, and then chunking that down into manageable sessions, and then having a pre-work mechanism so that you can assess where someone falls so that you know how to start out that first session prior to the first session. And so you can assess where they're at, ask any other questions, follow up that you need, and meet them where they're at. And then within those sessions, determining what is a flow that will keep the both of you anchored to the process. So I hope this was helpful. Thank you so much for listening. As always, if you found value in this, I would love if you would screenshot this episode, share on your socials, and tag me. And then lastly, if you would ever like support in more specifics around these concepts, creating and or launching your own offers or consultation, coaching, courses, I do have one-on-one mentorship options, and I'll leave more info for you in the show notes if you are looking for additional support right away and you know that that's something you would like to explore. You can always DM me anytime over on Instagram at Ashley R. Latimer, or you can always email me if that's preferred, hello@elevatedwithashley.com. Okay, I'll see you next week.
Thank you so much for listening to the podcast. My goal is to help as many women in business online as possible to build strong, powerful, aligned, and profitable personal brands. The best way to show you appreciate this content is to screenshot and share on your social media or share with your team. Actually, even better would be to also leave a review for the podcast on whichever platform you're listening on. If you are looking for any additional support, you can always reach me via email at hello@elevatedwithashley.com. You can DM me on Instagram at Ashley R. Latimer, or join us in the free Elevate Academy for Brand Building, Maverick Marketers, and Mompreneurs Facebook community. Can't wait to chat with you next week.